Welcome to another edition of Leap Forward Podcast with Riesterer Schnell. I'm your host, Beau Dvorachek, Strategic Solution Manager. And with us today, we have Andy Sorenson, Regional Sales Manager and Product Specialist for Combines and Planters, and also Trevor Balthazor, Digital Specialist. How are you guys doing today?
Fantastic.
Good. Isn't it a great, wonderful fall day out here? We're out in the field today harvesting soybeans. We've got our S7 800 combine out here, and we're working through the beans today. But before we get into the combine stuff, wanted to know from you, Trevor, what did it take to get that combine ready to go before we go to the field?
Yeah, so that combine has a JD Link modem, so we put that combine into our demo account here, but more or less before we would want to get it into a customer account. That way it's in that person's operations center.
Yep.
Along with that, we're in a field today, so we need to have the right client farm field set up in operations center with boundary.
Yep.
So with some of the new technologies, we need that boundary to be able to use it. I know we're going to talk about turn automation and then some of the new technologies with the predictive ground speed automation that utilizes that boundary for pulling those satellite maps throughout the year. So got to get all that stuff into the operations center and then send it to the machine before it gets to the field so that when it pulls in, it has all that information in there.
Okay. When that combine pulls into the field, what happens?
So we're using Work Planner with this, with the satellite imagery. So once you get close to the entrance of the field, a plan pops up into the display and asks you if you want to start work. It sets the variety of what's been planted in here. It sets our guidance line or our auto path boundary or rows that we're using. And it basically gets that combine ready to start the action.
Excellent. And we love action, don't we, out in the field today? All right, Andy, we're up to you now. We got action going on. We got the field combine in the field. We're ready to go. What's next?
Well, the great thing with the new combine is that there's not a whole lot that we have to do to be prepared for going into the field. What we really need to do is just get in there and start harvesting. We have 3 new automations come out that's here on our combine. We have predictive ground speed automation, harvest settings automation, and train settings automation. So what we really have to do is just get in there and start combining. In the combine, we just basically tell it where we want. If we want some better form material or less form material in our tank, less grain loss, all we really have to do is just dial some numbers in on the display.
Okay. So let's talk further about the predictive ground speed. Satellite imagery coming into the cab, right? Talk about that.
Yeah, so we have 2 forward-facing cameras on our combine that are looking about 35 feet out in front. They're judging the biomass of what is coming into the combine, and that's going to help speed up or slow down as we're going through the field. So if we're coming to a patch that may be drowned out, it's going to speed us through that. If we're coming to a thicker patch of beans or whatever we're combining at that point, it's going to slow us down so we're matching and we're not pushing all our grain out the back.
Okay.
Yeah, and building off that, Andy, I think that's the big thing of we have the cameras, they're seeing the crop, but also that satellite imagery, those 2 pieces are working together because you won't see it today. We're pretty fortunate not to have too dusty of beans out here, but with that dust, a lot of times our cameras lose that quality and that confidence when we get in those dusty conditions, and that's where then we use those satellite maps to fall back onto so we can use that predictive ground speed automation.
Okay. How about harvest automation?
Harvest settings automation is what we got to do. Before we actually had to kind of go through a couple of different steps to get our combine set up. But now all we really have to do is go in there, hit a capture button. We go out and count our grain loss and we plug that into the display. And from there, we're calibrated and we're ready to go. All we have to do is adjust our numbers in the cab. We don't have to keep getting back out and just checking our grain loss. So pretty intuitive there.
Excellent. What else we got to do with the combine, Andy, to get her going?
Really, we got to do some outside settings. Outside of that, we have localized harvest settings. So that is kind of something that builds off of itself each year. So it's kind of picking up on all the combines that we have out there, the newer S series. All that data is being transferred back to John Deere, and they compile all that, and then it kind of tells, they push that out every year on the new software. So we can plug that right into the display. So every year it's going to get better and better.
Excellent. So we talked about some technology things. On the new S7 800, what are some equipment machine type things that are new to that machine?
There's lots of cool things that are new. For starters, we have the X9 cab on there. A lot more room in there. Got the G5 displays. They're fast, really crystal clear, so you can see what you're doing in the cab and on the grain tanks. We have cameras on the side of the elevators showing us what's going into our grain tank. Outside of that, John Deere actually did a pretty good job freeing up some horsepower that's being driven off the engine. So we got rid of some of the drives on the combine. We did some different stuff with our tailboard on how we drive them. We added changed our chopper blades around a little bit to free up some horsepower there as well. And our bigger machines, our Class 8s and Class 9s, we got the 13.6 liter engine in them now.
Great. Those are great things. You got the grain cart going through us behind us here, making a little extra racket, but that's what's happening when we're farming, right?
Yeah.
Trucks are pulling in, grain's going out. That's awesome. All right, combine's coming up behind us, both of them. One of the customers we're out by today, and also our S7 800. I think we're all talked about, have the information we need to go. We got her dialed in. Let's get in the combine cab. All right, welcome back. We're in the cab with Andy. We're getting everything set up, and we're running. So Andy, let's talk about what we talked about in the very beginning about what we do to set everything up.
Yeah, so we have our client farm and field here up in our upper location here. Our maps are all set up. We have our varieties in our machine. Satellite maps are loaded, and we're ready to harvest.
Excellent. So we talked about predictive ground speed.
Yeah,
Let's show us that.
so we have predictive ground speed on our display, on our G5 displays. If you guys are watching at home, we have our predictive ground speed automation. We have our harvest settings automation and our active terrain automation. Swap that down here for you guys. So right now we are currently running all three automations. We have our harvest settings automation. So this is our grain loss, foreign material, and broken grain. We have our limits set up to those, and it's actively calibrating. We can see on the display over here, it's actively making decisions and adjusting on the go without us having an input on it.
Excellent. So what is that all designed for, Andy? Is it designed for the premium operator that knows the combine inside out, or is it more for somebody who's a little bit less comfortable with operating?
Yeah, so I would say it's actually designed for both. I've been on farms where we have had a tough time just in certain varieties of corn and even soybeans. You could have a tough time as varieties are changing. We're doing different practices with fungicides. We're noticing that it's harder and harder to dial the combines in on some of those. So it is for everyone, I would say. I feel that it benefits the younger operators a lot, just because if they don't know exactly what kind of an adjustment to make, they could come in here, turn all these settings on. Also, you have a lot to watch. Like you mentioned, we have the HD40F. We go up to 50-foot headers here. That's a lot of machine to watch out front, make sure we're not hitting anything. So if you could take this stuff off of your mind and just focus on the physical stuff on the field, I think it helps out a lot, the whole farm a lot.
Excellent. Okay, we're coming to the end of the row here, Andy. Clock us through turn automation.
Yeah, so we have turn automation turned on. Very easy to set up in these combines. What it's going to do here, all we have to do is pick up our head at the end of the row, and it's going to turn us right around. We are not going to have to touch the steering wheel at all right now, and that'll keep going back and forth. The nice thing about turn automation with combines is I know people splitting fields and corn and stuff to keep that grain cart, your unloading auger to the inside. We can actually spiral in, and we can do spiral outs with turn automation too. So it's kind of set up for all types of combining.
Yeah, we're showing it right there where it's following that white line on the screen.
Yep.
Wait, then up there you go, Andy.
So yeah, we
He's
got
going to come right into the AP line, and he's dropping the head, and off we go. Re-engaging the ground speed automation, as you can see right there on the screen.
Yep.
We're combining.
So we do have the ground speed automation and then harvest settings automation here. The top portion is going to be more of our predictive ground speed automation, where the bottom portion is truly that harvest settings automation. The nice thing about these two is that they're tied together. You can have this, so it will push the combine, but it's not going to push you unless if your parameters are met over here on this. Your parameters for your foreign material, broken grain, and grain loss. So it's going to push it, but we're not going to keep pushing corn out the back just off our speed of our combine.
Sure, absolutely. Just thinking about this, I know we've been at it here for a couple hours, but by the end of the night, how does that predictive ground speed help with fatigue an operator?
I would say it helps immensely. You're going to have the stress all day. They say, and any combine operator could beat the harvest settings and the predictive ground speed maybe a couple hours out of the day, but to do it completely the full day, this is really maximizing what you purchased out of the combine here. So,
Okay.
So you can see we're coming through a little bit of a wheat patch here. And I can actually pull these cameras up here. So this is physically what we're looking at out front. You can see the green. That is that thicker biomass. That yellow stuff over here on the side is stuff that we already combined, so that's less biomass there. Also, you can see our satellite maps that Trevor was talking about earlier. This is a satellite map, so all these little different colors here are different biomasses within that field. So we have some good variation throughout this field here.
Very interesting to see.
So yeah, this is that little wheat patch that we just went through, this yellow here, and that actually picked it up on the satellite map. So that's just pretty cool.
Excellent. What else is cool about this S7-800?
Oh, there's a lot of other cool things about this bow. New with the S7-800s is we actually have 4 loss sensors here, and you can actually see we're heavy on our left side. This is calibrated with your grain loss over here. So all 4 of those sensors are individually read now, so we can actually see how that combine's loaded up. We're a little bit on a side hill to the left here, so you can kind of see that that grain is actually shifting over in the combine to the left side. We also have auto swaps on our tailboard, so if we have a good strong wind going one way, we can actually do an auto swap down here. We can turn that on, and as we turn around, that's actually going to swap the wind direction of our tailboard, so we're not putting all our chaff into our next cutting pass.
Sure. Let's take another turn here. Turn automation. Pull up that one screen here where we can show that camera how that's working on there.
So yep, we can kind of see how it's coming up here. I'm just gonna lift my header.
One more step till we're at autonomy, right?
Yes, sir.
How about this X9 combine cab, huh?
Tons of room. We actually have a couple people in here right now. We have our film gallery now, and us too as well. So, and we're not too scrunched, I don't think.
Not too bad, not too bad. Yeah, climate control in here is amazing. It's keeping us all nice and cool. It's a nice sunny day today.
Yep. No display is up here to tell us everything's working. We have our engine load, so you can kind of see new layout of our engine load and our grain loss as well.
Excellent. Well, if you'd like to hear more about the S7-800 combine or the predictive ground speed or harvest settings automation, be sure and contact one of our Riesterer Schnell sales or specialist representatives. That does it for today's episode of Leap Forward with Riesterer Schnell. Thanks again.
We're your John Deere dealer coming through for you, Riesterer and Schnell.